Okay, welcome back to class. Now we're going to be talking about the introduction to HTML. Now, what is HTML? HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. Mind you, HTML is not a programming language. HTML it's a markup language that is used to describe the structure of every website. And also, HTML is the standard markup language for creating web pages. It gives it the skeletal system with which every website is being built on. And also, HTML describes the structure of a web page. HTML describes the structure of a web page. HTML consists of a series of elements that is being put together with which your CSS and your JavaScript now builds on. Now, HTML elements tell the browser how to display the content. It's like giving a general structure. So it's HTML that gives the skeletal view of every web page that is being designed. Every web page with which you see has a preliminary, which is actually the HTML as its foundation. And we also have HTML elements label pieces of content, such as this is a heading, this is a paragraph, this is a link. So it's HTML that gives all of these characteristics that we are going to be working on. And let's go to the next page now. We're going to be talking about a code editor. A code editor is one of the most important tools in a software engineer's arsenal. Now, what am I saying? I'm talking about a platform whereby we would be able to write our code and we're going to run our code without launching it into the web server. So we have a lot of them. We have over 35 to 40 code editors with which we can make use of. But I will be talking briefly about very few of them. And anyone with which you want to pick, it's dependent on how familiar you are with them or how simple they are to you or so. So we're going to be talking about Visual Studio Code. Take note of something. Visual Studio is of two types. We have the normal Visual Studio and we have the Visual Studio Code. So it's the Visual Studio Code that we use in editing codes, writing codes, editing code, and running a precise array of code. So it can be used on Windows, MacOS, and Linux operating system. So it depends on your operating system. But for this course, we're going to be using the Visual Studio Code. But let me introduce you to some other code editors that you can check out at your leisure. We have the Sublime Text, which can also be used on Windows, MacOS, and Linux operating system. We have the CodeSpace, that's the GitHub CodeSpace. It's also a web-based development environment. You can use it directly on your browser. All you need to just go to GitHub CodeSpaces. So you're going to see it pop up and you can use it directly on your web browser. And also we have Atom. Atom works on computers running Windows, MacOS, or Linux. And we have Vim. Vim works on many different platforms, Windows, Unix, and even Amiga. Yes, Vim works on Amiga also. So in case you're using Amiga as your operating system, we have Vim to work for. And they give you the same pattern. They all flow through the same pattern. And we also have Espresso. Espresso works on only the MacOS operating system. So if your operating system is MacOS, then you know you have Espresso as a code editor that you can actually use on it. Okay, yes, let's go to this. Let's talk about what is an HTML element. Okay, an HTML element is defined by a start tag, some content, and an end tag. So generally we have the HTML element to look like this, what you're seeing on the screen now. We have the tag name, content goes here, and the tag name. So we have some elements with which they are self-closing and there are some they need a closing tag. So the HTML element is everything from the start tag to the end tag. So for example, we have the open H1, then the close, that's the greater than sign. Then in between it, you have my first heading, and also we have the closing tag of it. Then we also have the P tag, with which it has my first paragraph and the closing tag on it. So these are things with which we have as far as this is concerned. Okay, so in the next video, we'll be talking about the installation of the Visual Studio Code and how to begin the class proper. Thank you and see you in the next class.